Hello everybody, welcome to Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. Trying to hit 50k subscribers on this channel, so that subscription would be much appreciated. We are back with Discord hot takes. Two things. If you would like to join the Discord to get your hot takes more likely to be responded to, then that link is in the description to join our Patreon. With the Patreon, you get access to content early, but most importantly, you get access to this Discord where there's a ton of cool like-minded people. Not like-minded in the sense that we all have the same basketball opinions as a monolith, but we're like-minded in that we can talk about the game without being asshole-ish about it. And then the other thing, I'm going to be moving these hot takes videos on this channel over to Tuesday, so you'll get your hot takes on my Rusty Buckets channel on Saturday and this one on Tuesday. So yeah, with that said, this is our last Discord hot takes on a Sunday. Let's get into it. From Khalid, just because a player developed a certain way on one team, there is no guarantee that they would develop the same way in another. You see this in a lot of hindsight drafts. If Kawhi was drafted earlier or by Indiana, for example, I doubt he would have become the superstar he is today. Oh, no, miss me with that tired shit. Or if a hindsight draft had Giannis higher, does another team have the patience and flexibility to allow Giannis to develop at the pace he did? What are the odds that a higher pick team wouldn't have tried to rush his development and he never would have become who he is today? That one I can understand a little bit, but also Giannis was showing serious flashes by his second year. Like it's not even like Giannis took long to be good. It just took him a little longer to be really good. But yeah, Giannis played the point guard position in his third season, averaged 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.6 stocks at the age of 21. So I just don't know about that one. I don't think that one even makes sense, really. In this Kawhi one, it's not your fault, but this is a take that pisses me off. This is a whole thing that was going on with the Spurs shit where people would say that Kawhi shouldn't have gone against the Spurs in any capacity because he has Greg Popovich to thank for the fact that he was good. Obviously, the Spurs are good at developing talent, but I also resent the argument of like these players would develop terribly if not for Greg Popovich saving the day. He still did the work. He still put it in. It's more about opportunity than development. There are players who are as great as Kawhi Leonard is at his absolute peak or Giannis is at his absolute peak, just needs the opportunity. They don't need special training. Kawhi didn't become Kawhi because he was on the Spurs. Kawhi became Kawhi because he was a great fucking player in a good environment to develop properly. Kawhi was one of the best defenders in the NBA from like the moment that he got real minutes. And then he developed his offense over the course of a couple of years. That take just upsets me. People give Greg Popovich a little bit too much credit. I'll respect him because he's the greatest coach of all time, but let's chill with that. Dennis Rodman is an underrated winner, 5-time champion on 2 different dynasties, 2-time DPOY at only 6'7". Okay, 8 all defense teams, 7 rebounding titles, again only at 6'7". The man was so impactful everywhere he went. Team managed to put up with his off-court antics for a decade and a half. I don't know how he ended up below guys like Melo, Lillard, and Vince Carter so consistently, because they were better, probably, would be the reason for that. Dennis Rodman was about as good as you can be while being entirely inept as a scorer. But if you're entirely inept as a scorer and you're being compared to guys with 20,000 plus career points, in the case of Melo, 30,000 career points, I just don't think you can be as good as those guys. Like, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, offense does matter the most, scoring the ball does matter the most, and if you are so much better at scoring the ball on that level, then sorry, no, you just don't get to be placed over those guys. Like, I wouldn't place Draymond Green over Lillard or Vince Carter or even Melo, despite the fact that I'm a Melo hater. So no, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that particular end of things. Underrated winner. I mean, what does that mean, really? Obviously, he's a winner. People know he has 5 championships. I don't know that that's that underrated. He also was not an all-star on the second three-peat, by the way, or at least 2 out of 3 years. But I believe he wasn't ever an all-star as a Bull. I also think his off-court antics are dramatically over-exaggerated. He was always there when he needed to be. Yeah, he was 34, 35, and 36 on the Bulls, putting up 5 points on 44% shooting. It's just not good. Again, truly as great at everything else as he could be. But scoring is first and foremost for a reason. The die-hard basketball fan crowd can be harsh, dismissive, and outright jackasses to fans who don't enjoy the game as much as them or purely only watch to be a fan/support a team rather than follow the whole league and all of its notable players, etc. When it comes to fan discourse, it's like you have to have a basketball card that can be revoked is how some can act. We are all fans of this at the end of the day. Well, I think it depends how you say it more than that you say it. There are absolutely people who will shit on a casual fan for expressing an opinion that's pretty loosely based and like coming from a perspective of someone who clearly doesn't think they're a genius. But there can be people who are incredibly misinformed who act like they are, and that frustration lends itself to harsh, dismissive responses. And that, I think, is more reasonable. But for the most part, I mean, you're never going to get me to disagree with the notion that people are a little bit too harsh when talking about basketball. That is decidedly the case. It is one of my biggest issues, and it's something that has made me like participating in the discourse less. From conscious feeling, I think whoever wins the in-season tournament should host the next year's All-Star game. I think the common talking point for the in-season tournament is that we need to find a way to get players invested in it. I think that $500K bonus for the guys at the end of the roster has proven to be good enough incentive to get guys to play and play hard, especially down the stretch. I think both the in-season tournaments have proven exciting basketball games, especially deeper into the tournament. I think the focus should be on getting the fans invested. And I think the prospect of hosting the All-Star game is a decent incentive. I've been to 2 All-Star games in my life, Houston in 2013 and Indiana last year, and I think it's a lot more fun of an experience in person versus on TV, and being able to bring that to your fans via your play on the court versus winning it in some selective lottery or however they decide it. It now sounds a lot more fun to me. Here's the issue. First of all, there's a lot of preparation that goes into the All-Star game. So finding out what they're going to do, where they're going to do it with 2 months notice is extremely difficult for a lot of reasons. But more importantly, I don't know that I agree that the All-Star game being hosted in your city is actually that big of a deal to most NBA fans, because most NBA fans are far too broke to ever step foot at the All-Star game. Like, tickets start around like $1,000 a pop after fees for the All-Star game. So like, unless you're a mega rich person living in your city, or you have someone who is rich who will help you out, like, it's really not that big of an incentive. For most people in the city, the All-Star game will be far more of a hassle, more of something that interrupts the flow of their daily life more than it is cool for them. I believe Nick on his podcast, he was talking about the draft being hosted at in Chicago near where he lived, and dealing with like there was extra traffic, there was a bunch of attention around, like, I don't know, it can be annoying. And I think for more people than not, it's more annoying than it is good, because, oh, yay, the All-Star game is being hosted in an arena that I could never dream to pay enough to get inside of. Like, I don't know. I'm planning on making a deep dive possibly about like the NBA just becoming so accessible for inaccessible rather for working class people. And yeah, I just don't know. I don't know that it would actually be that great of an incentive for the fans.
From D-Lo's forever hater. Wemby is a better defender right now than Jaren Jackson Jr. ever will be. Sure, whatever, man. I don't care. Why not? You're talking about Victor Wembanyama. And in my opinion, the Grizzlies are just the Hornets if they figured out being fun while being good at the same stick. If y'all wasn't fun to watch, they would just be the Kings 2.0. Yeah. I mean, okay. Yeah, and if I had 4 wheels, I'd be a wagon. Like, so what?
From CC, the Knicks have the best chance to take the East this year, given the lack of strong competition, injuries in the conference and playoffs, experience. I would not be shocked at all if the Knicks made the NBA Finals. Each year, the Knicks have made it further and further into the playoffs, and with their biggest competition likely out for the season, this could be their best chance. I think their biggest worries right now are having a new coach and any possible injuries. Injuries are always a factor. It's almost not even worth mentioning. The Knicks don't have anyone who's particularly injury prone, so they should be fine in that department, although it did interfere in 2024. I don't disagree. I'm pretty torn about who I have coming out of the East, but right now I think I have it between the Knicks and the Cavaliers. I do think the Cavaliers, I kind of have my doubts about them based on this last year's playoffs, but they also weren't healthy, and I still think they should be the better team. But the Knicks, it does feel like they could be ready. And the thing is, maybe this is an oversimplification. I feel like they can be just as good of a defensive team without Tom Thibodeau coaching them because they've learned what they need to know to be a good defense. They just need to apply it again. As long as Mike Brown does a good job of reinforcing that stuff and making sure that they're keeping the energy up on that end, I think the Knicks should still be a really great defense. And then Mike Brown can take their offense to whole new heights. Because I would say last year's Knicks team, good enough to win a championship. That Knicks team was good enough to win a championship. But the flow of the offense was so broken. The scheme was so simplistic that kind of hard to win that way. So if their defense can hold up the same and Mike Brown can revolutionize that offense, if that happens, if the defense holds up while the offense gets better, then I'm with you. I would pick the Knicks as well. I just need to see that happen before I say that. But I think it's very plausible. I barely even, you put hot take question mark. I don't even think that's really much of a hot take. From Cade's Cunning Hamster. Ricky Rubio was a top 5 passer ever, but is often undersold because his other skills weren't as sharp as other players mentioned in the passing conversation. Well, as long as you clarify passing there, I'm all about it. I do not agree with the idea that he'd be a top 5 playmaker because playmaking is not just passing. It is also having scoring gravity and leveraging it properly to create open opportunities for your teammates. But yeah, Ricky Rubio could pass the ball really fucking well. If he had more scoring gravity, he would be an all-time playmaker, but alas, he did not. Harden should have won the MVP in 2015. Steph was amazing, but he was also the beneficiary of being in a great, albeit new system with an excellent coach and more competent teammates. Harden had a worse roster with far less synergy and support, a notably worse coach, and he led his team to 56 wins, the 3rd best record in the league. Wow, that seems like a lower number than 69. Or was it 69 or 67 that they won in 2015? I don't give a shit about 56 wins. I don't give a shit about 56 wins. What are you talking about? Yeah, 67 wins. What? It's 11 more wins. His roster was also not that much better. Not that much better. It just wasn't. Like, I agree it's better. There's no doubt about that. But I think people tend to forget. I am certain Draymond wasn't, and I'm pretty sure. No, I think Klay Thompson made the All-Star team that year. Yeah, Klay Thompson was an All-Star that year. He made All-NBA 3rd team. Just an All-Star teammate. Draymond was great, but he really wasn't the playmaker that he was yet. You mentioned this system. The system wasn't even really anywhere near what it would be early on. And like, to me, this is a hindsight type of take. This is, if you were in the moment in 2015, it was clear as day who should have won that MVP. Like, it's not only should have gone to him because I think he had a similar season on a team that won more that I just disagree was like so much better. Definitely a worse coach. Fucking Kevin McHale was a terrible coach. I also just don't agree. I don't do the his team was worse argument. I don't even feel that way. Like, I'm not about that. So I just can't agree with you on that. Steph's 2015 MVP, not the strongest one in the world in terms of counting stats, but his system wasn't just like he was the system. Like, Steve Kerr was just smart enough to use Steph properly. That doesn't mean that he developed some profound system. He was like, you know what? I think the greatest shooter ever should move off ball sometimes. That's all that he really did. The rest of it was Steph's job to actually be that great. I can't agree with you. I'm sorry. Harden has better cases for a better case for the 2017 MVP than the 2015 one. From D'Lo's Forever Hater, one of my coworkers said he would rather have Chris Paul than Magic on his roster. I, a hater, disagree with him. For an all-time roster, would you have Magic or Chris Paul? Dude, I'm the biggest Chris Paul defender in the world. I think Chris Paul is the third best point guard of all time. I don't even feel like it's that close, but some people feel differently to me about Isaiah Thomas. I feel like Isaiah Thomas was closer to Chauncey Billups in terms of his role on those Pistons teams, to be clear, because his numbers beforehand were pretty fucking phenomenal. But Chris Paul, I think he's the GOAT for players who are 6 foot tall or under. Yes, I think he's better than Allen Iverson because he had a way better all-around game, way more selective with his scoring, way better defender, way better playmaker, way better three-point shooter, probably a better rebounder if I had to guess, but probably not by a significant margin. But Magic Johnson is the best playmaker who has ever lived, and I don't think anyone will ever eclipse him. He was such a crazy good threat on the drive and out of the post. Like, people look at Magic averaging 19 for his career and be like, it wasn't even really that good. You know, he wasn't really a scorer like that. But first of all, I think Chris Paul averages about 19 for his career, and he averages 17 for his career, but he does have worse years on the tail end there. So I'll just go start of career to final all-star appearance. And that's 18 points per game. So it's like we're not even talking about someone who's going to score the ball more. And then Magic averaged 13.1 assists one season. And the other thing, when it comes to point guard greatness, him and LeBron James are the only players who have ever averaged double digits for a championship run. And actually, I think I looked at this recently, and LeBron didn't even fully do it. I think he averaged like 9.6, so I should probably stop saying that. It might literally just be Magic. Yeah, averaged 8.8 in 2020. So it's literally just Magic Johnson. No one has ever won a championship while averaging double-digit assists throughout the playoff run. Magic Johnson averaged motherfucking 15.2 assists per game in 1985. And they won the 15.2, man. He was averaging 2.3 more points than he was assists, and 4 turnovers along with it. That's a perfectly acceptable ratio. When they won in 87, he averaged 12.2, and when they won in 88, he averaged 12.6. He's the only one. He's the only one. Magic is the GOAT point guard. It's him or Steph. I personally have Magic. There is a heavy step down for who the third greatest point guard of all time is after Magic and Steph. I think it's Chris Paul, but I also think Chris Paul is nowhere near Magic or Steph conversations. I don't think anything that happened before the 60s actually happened. Okay, that is not the same thing. Rudy said, okay, Tyler Hero to that, when my man said nothing happened prior to 1950 in history that is real. 1959, he averaged 10.8. Well, Magic Johnson and Bob Cousy in a heavily segregated league, playing with the best player of the 60s at the start. Yeah, it's Bob Cousy and then Magic. That's the reason I hate on players who average double-digit assists, by the way. Averaging double-digit assists really is not that good. It's actually not very good for your team. It's impressive, but in terms of winning, it's a different conversation. Same for averaging like 35 plus. Like, at a certain point, the stats are actually too much and you're playing a losing style of basketball. But in the case of Magic, him averaging 15 assists per game was a winning style of basketball, which is absolutely insane. Okay, from Pete the Weapon. Prefacing this, by the way, I read this earlier. This is maybe my favorite take that I have ever gotten because this is a pet peeve of mine for real. Prefacing your basketball take with, and this is coming from a Knicks fan or something, like, that is not the novel statement people think it is. Like, congratulations, you're reasonable enough to admit, for example, that Pascal Siakam is good at basketball. It doesn't make your opinion more or less valid that you have been on the losing side of a player/team's greatness. Like, imagine being like, exercise has a lot of healthy benefits, and this is coming from someone who doesn't work out. Yeah, you don't need to reap the benefits to figure that one out. Sorry. If you're just blindly stubborn about things like this, I don't know that it's worth having a conversation with you anyways. Yeah, when people do that, it's like, so are you incapable of being blindly biased based on the perspective of your team when discussing the game? Like, it's not even just like it's a subtle thing. Like, I have to be like, look, I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm entirely unreasonable about the Pacers most of the time. But Pascal Siakam, pretty good. Like, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be like a rivalry or a matchup. Like, I see people say this shit when it's entirely irrelevant. They're like, I'm an Indiana Pacers fan, but I think Steph is the best point guard of all time. Fucking what? What does that have to do with anything? Who asked? It has nothing to do with anything. And I see it a lot. Like, it does bother me. This is a personal thing. It bothers me when people be like, oh, people don't even say that. I have been reading YouTube comments on my NBA YouTube channels for almost a decade. I have seen every argument, and I have seen how prevalent it is. The amount of people who do this, and it's a non sequitur, blows my mind. You don't need to clarify that. You're spitting. I don't need to add more to it. Pete, this is the best take we've gotten in Discord to this point. Everyone else in the Discord, step up your game to Pete's level. From Reeves' as strong as soldier to be an elite shooter, you have to actually have the attempts count to go with a good percentage. Like, I'm sorry to a guy like Larry Bird who was doing 50, 40, 90 seasons, but I can't call you an elite shooter if you have less career threes than Draymond Green. You gotta shoot more than 2 attempts per game. Just went on a whole rant about what-ifism, but my first reply to this is I hate the people who go, well, Larry Bird would have shot more threes if he played in this era. Well, he fucking didn't, so he does not get to be a top 10 three-point shooter of all time. Now, shooter is a little bit different of a conversation, and that can be miscommunicated. It can be troublesome for people. Like, Larry Bird is one of the best shooters ever. He has one of the greatest mid-range games ever. Just like, obviously it's a little anecdotal just because there's no tracking data on mid-range shooting back then, but watching games of his, maybe I've seen more of his good games than his mid ones, so that maybe skews it a little bit. The guy could shoot. There aren't a million different stories about how damn lethal the guy was as a shooter for no reason. The guy was a sniper. He won those three-point attempts or 3-point contests in a row for a reason, but the 3-point shot was a novelty then, so we don't get to treat it like he's on the same level of players who used it when it's a legitimate weapon. Like, Malik Beasley is a better 3-point shooter than Larry Bird. Maybe not actually in terms of ability, but in all-time ranking, I'm pretty sure Malik Beasley made more threes last season, damn near, than Larry Bird did in his entire damn career. 319 threes from Malik Beasley this last year. Larry Bird, for his career, has made 649. So in one season in today's NBA as an elite shooter, you can make basically half as many threes, a little bit more, than Larry Bird did for his entire career. It's perfectly okay to call Larry Bird one of the greatest shooters ever. But if we're limiting the conversation to 3-point shooting, you are not one of the greatest 3-point shooters ever if you took 1.9 of them per game. I understand all of the context as to why he did that, but the what if of he could if he was in a different context does not get to trump people who did it objectively. No hypothetical. Objectively, it happened. No, I wouldn't even place Larry Bird as a top 25 3-point shooter of all time personally, because he just doesn't have the attempts. He has a career 37.6% 3-point percentage, which also isn't even that mind-blowing. So, sorry, no, can't do that. Also, it is worth mentioning that, again, it's part of it is the era, but his first season, he shoots 40.6% from 3, but the next 4 years following that, 4 years of the guy's prime all the way through to his first MVP award, he shot 25.7% from 3 on 0.9 attempts per game. I'm sorry. It's unreasonable. It's just entirely unreasonable. And because Larry's an all-time great, we have to put him in this conversation like he's up there with like Damian Lillard or Reggie Miller. He's fucking not. It's not even close. Could he? I agree. He could have been a top 5 3-point shooter of all time if he took 5 or 6 of them a game, but he didn't, so he's not. I really hope that is clear, because I actually overall believe that Larry Bird is an underrated player. Larry Bird's all-around game is severely underappreciated. I'm just going to go from his first season to his last before a major back injury in 1989 or 88. I'm just going pure counting stats for you. 1.8 steals, 0.8 blocks. A lot of people forget Larry Bird was an all-defensive guy 3 times. He was pretty good on that end. 10 rebounds per game, 2.2 of them being offensive. He overall averages 10 rebounds for his career. I think that gets undermentioned. Also, he played power forward for the first 5 years of his career, something that is also undermentioned. And 6.1 assists per game out of a power forward / small forward. Like, that is so weird for this time. So, like, he's literally 2 points per game and 1 assist per game away from LeBron James type counting stats. In terms of being an all-around great player, Larry Bird is among some of the best all-around players of all time. But for some reason, the 3-point shooting thing is all anyone wants to talk about. I don't get it. I really don't. He is an excellent mid-range shooter, excellent free throw shooter, career 88%, or at least over those peak years. Yeah, 88.6%. Has multiple years where he led the league in free throw percentage, multiple years where he shot over 90%. But he is not a top 10 3-point shooter of all time. He's not a top 21. I maybe would even say he's not top 30, because there are just dudes who have seasons, multiple seasons, well above league average on well above the standard amount of attempts. And the guys who actually did it deserve the place more than the guy who didn't. I don't care if he's an all-time great otherwise. It's a separate conversation. And so many people are just blinded by who Larry Bird is overall. It doesn't take anything away from him to say he's not one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time. He isn't. And this particular set of logic, this is the exact type of shit that old heads will get mad at modern NBA fans for doing. Like, in the reverse order, like NBA fans who are like, holy shit, we got like 5 guys averaging 33 points per game this year. It's like, yeah, in 2004, Kevin Garnett was tied for second in scoring in the league, averaging 24. Like, there was a time where the numbers were just simply lower because of the context, because of that being the dead ball era and stuff like that. Saying this shit devoid of context is annoying, and it's annoying both ways. And in this case, it's an extremely annoying thing that old heads do, where they look at the modern NBA and they're almost like, none of these guys could shoot threes like Larry Bird. What are you fucking talking about? It's just not true at all. It's objectively untrue. And I hate that it's even an opinion, because it shouldn't be. People ignore attempts when it comes to 3-point conversations a lot. I remember like my real like radicalizing point in this particular conversation was years ago. This guy on Twitter was arguing that Patrick Beverley was a better 3-point shooter than JJ Redick because he shot like 2% better in this particular season. Meanwhile, Patrick was taking like 4 less attempts, significantly more of them being not contested, basic catch and shoots and not movement shooting. There's so much context, the type of shots you're taking, how many of them are off the dribble, how many of them are contested, how many of them are moving, how many of them are off of an assist, all of that stuff, how much volume you're taking, how far you're taking them from. It's way too oversimplified by some people to just look at the percentage. And even if we are doing that, actually, I will do this just to prove One final point. Highest career 3-point percentages in NBA history. I guarantee you, Larry Bird isn't in the top damn 100 on this list. Yeah, it only goes to 50 on StatMuse. Am I logged in? Yeah, it only goes to 50. But he ain't on the top 50. There are so many guys who have the percentage and the attempts to be ranked over him. Like, I'm sorry, you just don't get to be that without having done it. Last take of the video. If Steph Curry ruined the game by popularizing the 3-ball too much, Kobe ruined the game by popularizing ISO ball too much. I think if you're going to blame Kobe for that, you can just as easily blame Michael Jordan for that. In fact, I actually had a deep dive idea in my head a million years ago about, it was titled something like Michael Jordan Ruined the NBA. Extremely reductive, silly title that was not what I actually believed, but it's enough to get you to click maybe. But the actual take is, so many teams were drafting players to be the next Michael Jordan and playing them the way Michael Jordan played while they were wholly incapable of elevating to his level. Like, so many fucking front offices are so basic, and they're just like, well, we got to copy exactly what we just saw work. We're not going to innovate. We're not going to come up with new ways to dominate the game. No, Michael Jordan did it that way. We need to draft Michael Jordan and tell him to do it that way. There's plenty of failed examples. OJ Mayo, funny name. It just hit me how funny of a name OJ Mayo is. Deshaun Stevenson, you have enough? Did you find where he ranks? He is 4th all time in 3-point makes by the time that he retires. That's interesting. You know, that's a compelling argument. I don't know if the mic caught that. Rudy said, "Who the hell is Dale Ellis, and why don't we talk about him the same way?" Forget Dale Ellis. I know I know Dale Ellis. Michael Adams. He came up in the other fucking hot takes video. I need to look into Michael Adams because clearly I'm a casual. By 1993, the all-time leader in 3-point makes was a 5'10" point guard. Oh my God. He wasn't even good. No, I remember this. Now. I learned about this forever ago. That my man was chucking, and the Denver Nuggets did not stop him. He shot 33% from 3 for his career, and he took 8.5 of them per game in 1991. God damn, bro. He didn't shoot above 37% once, taking 6 threes a game for 4 consecutive. That's crazy, man. In his last year, he averaged 26 points and 10 assists per game. He took 8.5 3-point attempts per game, shooting 30%. How do you take 8.5 threes a game, shooting 30%? They would have pulled Steph off the court if he was taking those silly-ass 3-pointers back in the day. Apparently fucking not. Rudy said, "Who the hell is Dale Ellis?" You should know who Dale Ellis is. Dale Ellis is very good. Dale Ellis is indeed an all-time 3-point shooter. And I think most people would have him in that category, but he averages 3.5 on 40%. But notably, he had years where he got above 2-3 attempts per game. From basically his peak, his first All-Star game. He averaged more before that without being as prolific as a 3-point shooter. And Basketball Reference is slow as hell today. Yeah, 4.2 attempts, 40.9%. That's way better than 1.9 attempts, 37%. I've talked about Larry Bird and 3-point shooting too much. Back to the original take I was replying to. I don't think it's Kobe's fault in the same way that it's not Steph's fault. And you're quoting the ruin the game take, so you clearly don't even agree with it. So you're probably on my side here. Yeah, it's not their fault that they were good and then a bunch of people tried to replicate it. That's on them for being unoriginal. But yeah, that is it. That is Discord Hot Takes. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.